Losing a job is stressful, I know, because I've been there. But what if we could turn this experience around by starting our own business? And what if I told you there's a way to get paid while doing it? I know it sounds too good to be true, but it is possible, and I am living proof of that with the Self-Employment Assistance Program. It's something I'm currently doing at the moment, and I've mentioned it in some of my previous videos, which has caused a good amount of people to reach out asking me more about what the program is. But there's a lot you need to know before applying, so I figured in this video I would talk all about the program, what it is, who's eligible for it, and then, of course, my top tips and tricks for making sure you can get accepted. Let's dive in. So if you don't already know me, hi, my name is Emma, and I run a small handmade polymer clay shop out of my little New York City apartment. And I just started my shop 5 months ago, which is also simultaneously when I started the Self-Employment Assistance Program. And I am now just a few weeks away from it ending, which I'm really sad about. I don't want the program to end. And I am so grateful for the program because for those past 5 months, I've been working full time on launching my business. I haven't had any other jobs, no part-time jobs. It's allowed me to financially sustain myself while also getting my company off the ground and running. And another reason I want to do this video is that when I was first looking into it and looking into applying, I tried, of course, going online, looking for other people's experiences doing the program, and I really couldn't find anything on it. And so I'm really hoping that this video, if anyone's looking to do the program, they come across this video and it can help them decide if it's something they want to pursue or not. Although I think you should pursue it. But of course, I do have to give a quick disclaimer that this is all based off of my firsthand experience and research, that I don't work for the program or any government agency. And of course, the program's rules and regulations do vary a bit state by state, and of course will change and evolve over time. So please also do your own research and look into your specific state for the best, most up-to-date information. So I got laid off of my corporate 9-to-5 job in September of 2024. I then, of course, applied for unemployment to start receiving some benefits in the meantime while I'm in between jobs. And when I first applied for unemployment, it did tell me a little bit about the Self-Employment Assistance Program, but in my head, I was like, I don't think that applies to me. I also don't think they would fund me starting a handmade art shop in my New York apartment. Like, in my head, I'm thinking they're probably wanting like carpenters, and people are gonna start restaurants and childcare centers, and like what I think of as being more traditional jobs and businesses, and not necessarily more artsy, creative side of stuff, if that makes sense. So I'd learned of it briefly. I did some research on it, and I was like, I don't think they're gonna accept me. I'm not gonna worry about it. So I just started applying for jobs, other corporate jobs, even though in my heart of heart, I am a little free bird. It's fine working for other people, but it's not me. I am an entrepreneur at heart, and I've always known that. One piece of information that I'm sure is just curious for you all to know, and that will come back when I talk about the eligibility of the program, is that I used to work as an instructional designer. I created online like e-courses, reading and writing for students whose English is their second language. I worked for a small like e-tech educational technology company. And so I am just, got myself on that little hamster wheel. I'm updating my resume, applying for different jobs, and also trying to think like, do I want to pivot to a different field? Do I want to stay in my same field? One little catch, at least for the state of New York, and maybe this is similar for other states that have this program, is that you can't get unemployment, or at least it's so much harder to, if you are self-employed. And so for about 3-4 weeks, I was kind of stuck in this place of applying for corporate jobs that I didn't really want to do, but I also couldn't start my small business with my spare time, because if I did so, I would risk losing my unemployment, because you can't get unemployment if you're self-employed, because if you're self-employed, then you're employed, even if you're not making money. All the logistics of unemployment is like a headache sometimes. But then about a month after being laid off and doing that whole rigmarole, trying to figure out what I'm gonna do with my life, I got a very, very important letter in the mail from the Department of Labor inviting me to apply for the Self-Employment Assistance Program. And I couldn't believe I actually got the letter. And even when I got it, I was like, they're not gonna accept my little art business. That's like, for me, I was still like, I just couldn't take myself seriously with it. But I was like, hey, why don't I just apply? Either I'll magically get in and it'll be life-changing, or I'll just be in the same spot I am in now. And I feel like that is a big mindset shift that I've had as I've gotten older, is just, I'm just gonna try. If I fail, then I fail, but I'm just gonna try, because if you don't try, you never know what's possible. And so thankfully I had that mindset in this moment, and I said, I'm gonna apply, maybe they'll accept me. And so I spent about 2 days working on my application, which I'll talk about that in more details in a little bit. It's kind of like a business plan essentially. So I submitted my application, and then a few days later, I got a notification that I had a new message in my unemployment portal online. I opened it up, and I got accepted into the program. And even talking about it now, I feel like I'm talking about a character in a novel. It still doesn't feel real to me. So it's actually good I'm making these videos. It's helping me process and ground myself. But I got accepted into the program, and then I basically immediately that day started working on my business. And I'll talk a little bit more about the specifics of what the program required me to do in a little bit. But I essentially started meeting with a business counselor. I started doing entrepreneurial training, and I just started working my little butt off. And I don't think I've ever worked so hard in my life. And of course, people's timelines will vary depending on where they're at in their business and what their business is. But for me, I took about a month to get my business established, actually establish my LLC, getting my website up, designing it, making my products. And then I launched my online shop in mid-November, and then 2 weeks after that, I did my first in-person market. I did a holiday market. And I feel very fortunate that within that first month, I made over $1,200. Granted, there's of course startup costs. So for me, I was still technically in the negatives, if we're gonna be real, because startup costs are a thing, which we can talk more financials in a different video if you want, but that's not this video. And then I kept just working on my business and getting it up and working on my social media. For me, a lot of my strategy is social media for getting the word out there, helping find people that connect with me and my art. And I've just been working really, really hard, a lot of long hours to get my business where it is now in the past 5 months. But by a long shot, the biggest benefit of doing this has been the ability to work full-time on launching my business, because time is money and time is necessary. And especially at the beginning, there are some pretty big learning curves and a lot of additional steps to get everything established and up and running. And so it's been incredibly helpful to have this. I definitely would not be where I am right now if I couldn't be doing this full-time. The program has also equipped me with a ton of knowledge and some resources, which a lot of the resources actually are accessible and free or very low cost to anyone. So you don't have to be part of the program to do that. I will be doing another video talking all about that, because without that support and those resources, I also definitely would not be where I am right now and not have the knowledge and the confidence and security that I feel to be able to do this. As I'm filming this video, I just have a few weeks left in my program before I am just on my own financially, which is really hard and kind of stressful to think about. But I'm also so grateful the program that I was able to do it, that I won't complain about it ending. Unless things happen to change financially with my business in the next couple of months, I will be looking for a part-time job soon. And does that mean I fail as a business owner? No, it is totally normal. And honestly, most people, you have to kind of work another job to be able to fund your business and yourself while getting off the ground. I think the stat is most businesses aren't actually in the positives until after 2 years. And of course that varies a lot depending on what your company is and the cost it takes to run it. For me, I have a relatively low risk company because I don't have employees. I don't have a brick and mortar store. I am making things handmade. So it's a lot of my own time, but I'm not paying a lot to manufacture items or have a warehouse to store items. So I'm hoping that I don't have to take 2 years to be in the positives. I really don't think I will, but just putting that stat out there that if it takes you a long time to get your business started, to actually start seeing good income coming in that you can support yourself off of, that's normal. Starting a business is not an instant gratification thing. It's a long haul. You gotta stay with it, and it'll be fine. We'll figure it out. So now let's get into more of the nitty-gritty stuff about what the program is, who's eligible for it, and how you apply for it. And then after that, I'll give you my top tips and tricks on how to actually get accepted into the program. The Self-Employment Assistance Program, or SEAP for short, is a government-run program that states can voluntarily opt into. So unfortunately, this is not across all 50 states. For the states that do opt into the program, it is then run and managed at the state level through the Department of Labor. And the program allows you to keep collecting your unemployment benefits, the weekly check that you get. But instead of having to search for a full-time job, it allows you to work full-time on starting your own job. Which states have this program? Unfortunately, most states don't have this program. From the research I did, I found there's currently 5 states that offer this program. Although, do your own research because it's possible that I missed a state. But the states that offer it are New York, which is where I live, and I'm gonna look at my notes, Oregon, Delaware, New Hampshire, and Mississippi. I don't know why those states have opted in. It feels it's a random little group. But of course, as always, do your own research and check your state's Department of Labor to see if they offer it. And now a quick little disclaimer before we go into the next more specific questions about it, is that since I live in New York State, this is obviously gonna be based off of my personal experience doing the program and applying for it in New York State. And from what I can tell, it's pretty similar across the other states, but just do your own research if you happen to live not in New York, one of the other states, okay? So who is eligible for the Self-Employment Assistance Program? So at least in New York State, in order to apply for the program, you must first be invited to the program. Like I said, I got a letter in the mail inviting me to apply for it. And in order to be invited for it, there's 2 main criteria that need to happen. 1, you need to be currently on unemployment, meaning you need to have, unfortunately, lost your job and already be accepted and getting unemployment benefits. And then the second factor, at least for New York State, is that the Department of Labor needs to deem that you will exhaust your unemployment benefits, which essentially means that the field of work you're in right now, the hiring is not looking good and you're not likely to get another job within the 6 months of being on unemployment. And apparently I was deemed as likely to exhaust my benefits because then I got the invitation. But then if you get invited, then you made it past that first barrier and now it's within your control to then apply for it. So what does the application actually entail? So for me in the state of New York, I basically had to fill out a relatively long application that essentially is like a business plan. So you're gonna have to tell them things like what is the company you're gonna do, what services or products you can provide, how are you going to sell them, how are you going to market them, how are you going to make this into a profitable business? Basically, you want to be able to kind of convince them in the application that not only do you have a good business plan, but you're also capable and able to pull it off and to launch it. And then if you are one of the lucky ones to be accepted into the program, then the work doesn't end there. There are different requirements that you must complete and forms you must submit in order to stay enrolled in the program. If you don't complete that, then they will basically kick you out and say, you didn't do it, you're losing your benefits. So the requirements, at least for the state of New York, is you have to meet with a business counselor at least twice, and then you must also do 20 hours of entrepreneurial training. I just realized I wasn't holding my mic and it was laying on the table, so hopefully the audio in that last little bit was fine. Let's continue on. So what business counseling looked like for me is that I found my business counselor through the Small Business Development Center near me. There's one at a local university nearby. And I met with her first in person. That first session, we kind of just went over everything, talked about the business I want to create. I asked her questions I had, and she just gave me some general knowledge about, oh my gosh, it is so loud on the shoulder. And she just gave me some general knowledge about how to start a business and also some homework to help me continue building my ideas and building my business plan. And one thing to note is that in order to stay eligible with my program, one of the requirements is that I must submit this 10-page long business plan that must also be reviewed and signed off by my business counselor. And so that's one thing I worked with her a lot on, is filling out that form. She helped me figure out the nitty-gritties of it, fill in the gaps of where I wasn't sure how to respond to it. And then she signed off basically saying, I believe this person can do this business and I am supporting them. So to sum that up, you need to meet with the business counselor twice, and then your business counselor needs to sign off on your business plan on the form that SEAP gives you in order to stay eligible. So that's one half. The other half is you must do 20 hours of entrepreneurial training. For me, I completed this requirement by doing online trainings through the small business development centers in my local region and SCORE. And then I also did an online course with my business counselor. Now, The important part about this though is you can't just do the trainings, you have to prove you do the trainings. So in order to do that, you either have to get a certificate of completion or you have to have the instructor, or in my case, like my business counselor, sign off basically saying you submitted it, and then you have to submit forms for every single training you did. So it's a lot of forms. And then in addition to doing business counseling and the business trainings, there are a handful of other benchmark forms you'll have to fill and submit in order to stay enrolled in your program. But those don't take too much time. They're basically forms that you fill out to prove that you're making progress and working on your business. And then depending on when you personally start the program, there'll be certain deadlines on when you have to submit all those different forms. So there's a lot of like executive functioning and planning, but it's not too crazy. But it is also like a lot to do at the beginning. So I don't know. It's worth it though. You learn a lot. It's great. Oh, and one important thing I should mention is that with the weekly benefits you get, just like if you're collecting regular unemployment, you do have to sign on every single week to basically certify your benefits to receive them, which basically that just looks like I sign on to my unemployment portal. I basically say, yes, I worked on my business all week. No, I didn't work other jobs. And then I put down the amount of money I made that week if I made anything. And yeah, financially, essentially the direct deposit, like the amount of money I get, is equivalent to if I was just on regular unemployment. So you don't like get an increased amount of money when you go from just being on regular unemployment to the self-employment program assist, to the oh my God, so many words. The amount of money you get every week is the same that you get on regular unemployment. But instead of searching for a job, they're just giving you that same amount of money to start your own company. But of course, that amount of money that you get will vary depending on like what state you're in. Whew, that was a lot of information. I hope I didn't just like fully info dump. And it was the right amount of information to be helpful, but not too overwhelming. So if you made it this far, thank you for being here. And now let's talk about some tips and tricks for getting accepted into the program, things that helped me on my application. 1, be very clear about your business idea. So take some time to really think through what you want to propose for your business. And don't just focus on including all the details. Yes, the details are very important, but also focus on writing it in a very well-structured and thought-out way. You want to show that you put a lot of thought into this. Number 2, you want to highlight the viability of your business in your application. So to do this, you want to show that your business is realistic and has potential for success. And like I said earlier, I didn't know if they would like my business plan because it's more of an artsy business. But in your application, what you should do, and I think really helped me, is you want to prove how your business is going to serve other people and why it matters. So you don't just want to focus on what the business is, but you want to focus on how it's going to serve others and your community and people, and how you're also going to market it and who your potential customers are. Number 3, use available resources. For me, I already had a pretty good idea of the business I wanted to start and my business plan prior to doing it, because I've been thinking about starting this as just like a side gig for a good handful of months before actually doing the program. But if you're not feeling as solid with your business idea, you could go ahead and meet with a business counselor before submitting your application, and they could help you with the application. You can also, ask your friends and your family, do online research, really think through what it is. And along with this too, I would recommend thinking about the financial side of starting a business, because the program does give you some money, but it is a very modest amount of money. So you will have to either get loans or self-fund your startup costs for the most part, because there's only so much money they give you. It's not like a magical thing. They don't give you a ton of money. It's pretty modest. So also make sure you do research that it's a good, wise financial decision to start a business as well. Number 4, which I think is probably pretty obvious, just stay organized, and you want to kind of prove through your writing that you are an organized person and that you're mature. You want to make sure that you show you really thought everything out. And then lastly, number 5, which is not the most exciting one, but is important, is make sure you read through all the details, all the fine print of your specific state's program before submitting it. Make sure you're super clear about everything so that when you're filling out your application, you don't accidentally add something that could just kind of like kick you off the list right away. So I hope that was helpful. I mean, the main general advice is just be thorough, be detailed, show that you've thought through your business plan and that you have the potential to make it a very successful real business. Like, no pressure, right? But you can do it. It's really not too intense. And I'm honestly not sure how strict they are really with it. But yeah, you just want to show that you got your stuff together. Well, I hope this video has been helpful and you've gotten some insight into the program. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in a comment and I will get back to you about that. And in the coming weeks, I'll be releasing another video talking all about free and very low cost resources and softwares and programs that can help small business owners at any stage in their business. And so keep an eye out for that. If you want to see it, make sure you subscribe to me so that you're notified of when I post it. And I just want to say thank you so much for coming on this journey with me. I hope this video was helpful and insightful, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. All right, well, do something creative, do something good for yourself today, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye, friends.